Hey everybody. So I think there's a concept that we need to talk about, something that I think that will help you wrap your mind around what we talked about earlier in chapter 13, which is the American system, okay? The guy that really was pushing the American system was a guy named Henry Clay, and he was, big-time politician back in the day, and he really, he tried to be president 5 times but was never elected, but he did have some good ideas that he wanted to impart on everybody, and really the guy was an all-American. He wanted what was best for the country. Now, what we need to understand about the American system is that what he was trying to do was trying to increase economic growth throughout the United States, and really what I'm talking about is ultimately this guy wanted the U.S. to become more wealthy, make more money. And he had a couple of ways of thinking about this. Now, before we get into that, we got to understand what capitalism is. This is that idea of a free market economy where people can create businesses and sell things in a free marketplace for profit, okay? And one of the things you got to understand about capitalism is a lot of people believe that there really shouldn't be any government intervention into the economy and into businesses. So the government really shouldn't play much of a role. The thing with Henry Clay is he agreed with that idea. However, in the early United States, he believed that the government could play an important role in helping to build the economy, and that's really what his goal was. So let's talk real quick about how he wanted the government to step in and really help out help build the economy and how the government could help do that. The first thing that we want to talk about is this idea of the government doing what it can to help build better roads and better transportation. Now remember, they didn't have cars back then, and really roads probably were a little bit of a less priority than things like canals. Canals were these man-made rivers that would go through land in order to connect cities so that they could sell stuff from city to city and anybody else that lived along that canal. So that would be kind of the idea here, is that the government would fund these different projects that would cost a lot of money because people got to get paid for digging a canal. The second thing that we could talk about was creating these tariffs for things being imported into the United States. So I want us to think about what a tariff really is. Now, if there's countries outside of the U.S. that want to sell stuff to American consumers, that would be people like us, right? What they do is they try to bring it into the United States at the lowest price possible, because if there's anything I know is that we like to save money, and a lot of Americans are cheap. All right, so we got to think about what's the best way in order to protect American businesses from these other businesses that want to sell their stuff to Americans. All right, so let's think about this for a second. How could we raise the prices on goods coming from other countries? Oh, I know. Let's tax those goods so that when they come in, they're already really expensive. I think that's one way that we could really be successful in order to build American businesses. Because if you see 2 products that are very similar next to each other, one made in China, one made in the U.S., but the one made in the U.S. is a lot cheaper, you're going to go for the one made in the U.S. And that was the idea. That was one component of Henry Clay's American system. The last thing that he wanted to do was really carry out the wishes of Alexander Hamilton, the guy that was a champion for the National Bank. Now, what you need to understand is that they had a national bank, but it lapsed in 1811. So he said, hey, we got to come up with a better national bank in order to do things like give loans to people that want to create businesses. Okay, so the national bank would give money to these people that say, you know what, I really like bikes. I want to build and sell bikes. He could go to the National Bank, they would give him a loan to start building and selling bikes. Okay? So we're talking about this idea of now of a national bank. One other thing that they wanted to do was they wanted to have kind of a standardized monetary system, which means that all of our dollar bills, let me see, do I have a dollar bill? Boy, this will be sad. They want to make sure that I can spend this dollar bill in Michigan, in Indiana, in Alabama, in Louisiana, in California, and what the National Bank would do would standardize our money so that we're all using these guys, okay? So, components of the American system by Henry Clay. Better roads, the government can help with that. Tariffs on things being imported into our country. The third thing, the creation of a national bank in order to give loans to businesses and and standardize our money system. Okay? So those are the three things that you need to know about the American system.